Hey everyone, Supersonic here. Now, I know this isn't the kind of thing that I usually upload, and well, Lord Gaber knows that you guys hate anything I upload that isn't TF2 Funny Moments comps. But if you like TF2, or more specifically TF2 SFMs, or just SFM in general, then keep watching. Please? Now, something that I don't talk much about on this channel is my personal life, and that's because, well, who fucking asked? But if you saw my review of the FNAF movie when that just released, then you would have heard me talk about my own passion for filmmaking, and well, that's what today's all about. Today I wish to unveil, a drumroll please, my second channel. Now, you might be wondering, what does TVHB stand for? Well, if you dolts had any brain functionality, you'd realise it's actually very simple. TV means, well, TV. Are you still with me here? H, head, P, productions. TV Head Productions. So, as you could probably tell by the name, and also the fact I just said it's about filmmaking, you can expect that this channel is going to be mostly dedicated to other forms of content, like short films and a couple of shows that I'm working on currently, and just whatever I really feel like uploading, if I feel like it meets the theme of the channel. And I just want to say, if you're watching this live, then the channel probably doesn't exist yet. It's something I'm still working on at the moment, but I do hope to have it up and running soon-ish. But until it's ready, I just wanted to show off a few sneak peek previews of what's to come, some animated shorts, a few short films, some digital art that I made in my free time, as well as some commission work that I've done, as well as a rundown of some projects that are currently in the works. By the way, before we get any further, I just wanted to say that everything going on right now is pre-recorded, so if you are talking in the live chat, I can see it because I will be watching this as it goes live, but I won't be responding to anything just yet, because I will have a segment at the end where I will pop in and do a quick live Q&A if any of you are even watching. But anyway, let's get right into my crap! So first things first, if you've come from my previously established audience, then you might have seen these already. A couple of animated short bits that I made for the purpose of being in videos. Or in other words, some stuff you've already seen. Really starting off strong there, James. Oh no! Oh no! Demo got telefragged! Come here, bitch!
There's a hole there. Oopsie.
Yes. Oh, did you fall into the big pit in
Yeah.
your base? Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. I am in the pit.
Did you jump in the pit?
No, I'm not in the pit.
But you're next to the pit.
Yes.
So this one was made in like 5 minutes, kind of just using SFM's game capture feature or whatever it's called, and it was mostly done because I never saw Chad's POV of this moment, and this was what I imagined it was like. Fucking dumbass, of course the giant pit would kill you. But also it was to test out the game capture feature, because if any of you have ever tried SFM, then you probably would have seen the official Valve tutorials, with this one being one of the earliest if I recall correctly. But when I started SFM, I kinda just skipped this step and moved on to the manual animation, which is how I made this. Come around here, walk along this walkway with me. Here. Here. And drop down here. Okay, this is the flag. It's a briefcase.
Ah.
Yeah, like I said, if you've been on my channel for a bit, then you've probably seen this. It's my first ever YouTube short, and hey, look at that, I make shorts, watch them. But not right now, wait until you've finished this. But anyway, there isn't really much to say about this one, it's pretty standard really. Just a funny rendition of what happened. It did unfortunately get cut out of the full-length video because the massive pause that I added did slow down the pacing, and because I'm a perfectionist who can always find something to be dissatisfied with, I kept going back and changing things, which was dragging out the production of the video. Which is something I really need to get a hold of now that I think about it. I had a whole short film that I wanted to make for this, but midway through the production I scrapped it because I found a new animation technique that I liked more than the one I had been using. Less of this. And more of this. Same can be said for the next short, which stopped video production on one of my older videos for, 3 months.
There's a kraken down here.
Oh. Not good. Was that worth 3 months of delays? You tell me. But in all seriousness, this is like the only one of these shorts that I really tried to stylize. I tried giving it the whole Into the Spider-Verse, lower frame rate, kind of stop-motion-y feel to disappointing results. I would like to point out, however, that that short is much older than the last two, and I have made a lot of progress since then. So much so that I can even tell you what I could have done to improve this. Ready? Use extremes. Now I'm going to play this back for you. You see how the characters seem a little bit stiff? It's because their poses don't change enough for the lower frame rate to take effect. The movements are too subtle, so using the 2s and 3s method makes it seem less like a stylistic choice and more like it's unfinished. But with more exaggerated posing, the video would feel less like this. And more like this. How many times do you think I can use that joke? Let's go for 3. But seriously, these little animated bits are just meant to be throwaway shitposts for bits and jokes in videos that'll eventually become YouTube shorts. And even though I haven't recently, I do want to start incorporating them more. It's just with the recent influx of viewers I've been getting, I don't want to delay any videos and risk losing that momentum. So I've been trying to get more videos out in a timely manner while still being of decent quality. So, stay tuned for more, I guess. And, more is what you're getting right now. Get a load of this. So not necessarily TF2 related, but look, Fem Scout, does that count? And Freddy Fazbear, what am I doing? This was just a proof of concept animation for a short screenplay I wrote for college that I'm considering continuing. If I am, the whole thing needs to be reworked, because as I'm writing this, I realized a massive issue that needs to be fixed, or the entire thing doesn't work. But this does serve as a good example of my cinematic movie-making abilities, and, well, not to blow my own dick, I mean horn. Even though the camera feels a bit stiff in some scenes, and the cuts don't feel very coherent. Wait, what was I supposed to be complimenting? Oh, right. I think the framing is pretty good, the lighting's decent, and the animation's still pretty good, even though a tad outdated. You see, nowadays I animate less like this. Yeah, more like this. Yeah, that one wasn't as good, was it? But I tell you what is good. So, as anyone with half a brain cell can see, those ships were from Star Wars. And the music was from Star Wars. And it's Star Wars, it's just fucking Star Wars, alright? I like Star Wars. And you know who else likes Star Wars? My friends. And you know what happens to nerds when they like something. They make OCs. And that's exactly what we did. And then we shared them with each other. And then I said I wanted to make a show out of it. And that's what we're doing. It's not licensed, so please don't sue me, Disney. More on that later, though. For now, that was just another little animation test I did to stretch the proverbial creative muscles. I was just trying to improve upon the last short by having a more dynamic camera and more coherent cuts. But something that doesn't try to improve on anything is this. Analog horror. A wild and wonderful phenomenon that peaked 2 years ago and that everyone is sick of by now. That which you have just seen was one of my earliest delves into the realm of analog horror. It doesn't look very analog, and it isn't really horrific. In fact, I'd argue it's not even scary. But like a lot of what I do, apparently, it was a proof of concept for a planned short film that I was going to make for my second year final project. Until I decided to go with FNAF, because I'm unoriginal and basic. Look, it was a popular topic at the time, alright? The movie was still a few months from releasing, so... Ugh. Anyway, it was not only to prove the concept, but also to practice animating movement, you know, both extreme and subtle. You know, the guy falling from the sky and you know, the T-Rex head, and you know, I tried making it look like the puppet, you know, the giant animatronic T-Rex from the first film. You know, I thought that was cool. Anyway, even though I scrapped the short film, I have since revisited the concept of a Jurassic Park analog horror, and made a few parts of a small series which is still ongoing. But these are 2 parts that I have already finished, with more likely to follow.
Discard
Hello, dear InGen executives and investors. We are happy to announce that operations are firmly underway to resecure the production site on Isla Sorna that we unfortunately had to evacuate due to Hurricane Clarissa. During the evacuation, the animals were released from their paddocks for their own safety, as is standard evacuation procedure. We already have an agent on the ground surveying and assessing the damage to our facilities and taking stock of the animals so that we can begin preparations for recapture, relocation, and rebuilding. We understand that you may be concerned after the events that transpired on Isla Nublar. However, we assure you that there is no need for concern and that everything is under control. Under control. 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 So I made my way to the raptor paddocks. They seem to be mostly intact. Just some superficial damage, but nothing too major. Holy fuck. Under control. Now that we've put your minds at ease, you'll probably want to see how our animal assets are doing. Our latest reports show an increase in population since we released them into the wild. It looks like Dr. Wu and our world-class team of geneticists still have a few kinks to work out. We will keep you updated as the situation progresses. Thank you for your time, and we hope you have a lovely day. Both of those, I'm sure you will agree, are significantly better than the first. You know, the production quality is much higher, it looks better, it's just better in every way. I think more than anything, I just want to talk about how Jurassic Park's lore has been forever expanding since the movie's release in 1993. And the final of the original entries in 2001 opened up so many questions about the franchise which mostly went untouched by the newer films. Except that, like, in-universe classified documents appeared online via various sources. But I won't go into any more here, you should look it up though, it's really interesting in my opinion. Specifically look up the amalgam testing, that served as a huge inspiration for this series. But even the Jurassic Park movies had themes and messages about questioning the morality of genetic engineering and the potential consequences of messing with the animal kingdom. Later entries in the series, specifically Jurassic Park 3 from 2001, which is what I was just talking about, introduced audiences to a much darker side to the fantasy and wonder of the first film. And the imagery it showed of failed embryos and the misshaping genetic experiments, these aspects of the franchise are usually covered over as, well, I'm guessing audiences much preferred to experience the family-friendly nature of the other films, but this untouched underbelly of the franchise is still a great point of interest with fans. Which I suppose in many ways mirrors the movies, where the public is shown these great spectacles, whilst behind those spectacles lie a dark and terrifying truth of tampering with genetics, and this is getting too artsy for my taste. I'm definitely not the first to make a Jurassic Park into an analog horror, but I think I did a pretty good job. In terms of production value, I think it's pretty good. Horror isn't my forte, and analog horror has kind of seen the peak of its popularity, I think. I'm gonna finish the series, but obviously I know that it may not be as popular as it would have been like a year or two ago. But not to get bogged down, up next, since I scrapped those pretty good shorts to make a FNAF short film, it must be pretty good, right? Right? So, I think I need to check myself for cuts, because that was edgy. Yeah, whilst an improvement on the first Jurassic Park short I showed off, it is still so outclassed by what I'm capable of now. That short was one of 5 that I made for a series called The Salvage Tapes, which I ended up compiling into a half-hour-long short film of the same name. It was an interview-style series based on the salvage minigames from FNAF 6, and it will never see the light of day. Ever. It's just so bad, and cringy, and edgy, and I honestly hate myself a little bit for making it. This one was the only salvageable part. You get it? Salvage? No? Okay. This kind of served as like the tail end of the series and the conclusion to the story. Obviously this is all based off of the Ultimate Custom Night game, you know, the one about William Afton living, or well, being stuck in purgatory, suffering at the hands of the monsters he created and all that, and that's kind of where Pizzeria Sim kind of leaves off, so I figured I'd leave it off there and kind of go into the next game. I might remake this one actually, because I think it's the only one that isn't completely terrible. I don't think... Also, it's the fact that I made that series quite a while ago now, and so a lot of the things, like the details I used for building the lore, very outdated. So, yeah, this one seems to still hold up though. Like I said, I might remake this one and update it to the same quality as the other 2 Jurassic Park shorts I just showed off, because, well, it's FNAF, and it's basically a view magnet. But anyway, after that abomination to the arts, I think I need something to wash my eyes out with. Something good, something mature and tasteful. Something Oscar-winning? Ah, much better. Yeah, so after I scrapped the short film I was going to make for this, I needed something to replace it, and after Godzilla Minus One won an Oscar, I was inspired to make this. It has it all, I guess. Pretty good animation for my standards, good framing, good lighting, a dynamic camera movement, as well as a recognizable IP that will probably sue me. You know, it even has potential as a meme template. Don't believe me? Watch this. Yeah, I don't know what's going on anymore either. Well, that's all I really have to show for now, but I am working on a lot more stuff, so for the sake of keeping you all interested, I'm going to give some details on my upcoming projects. First of all, I would just like to specify that I am working on the continuation to that Jurassic Park analog horror series. And well, I've kind of already had a whole rant about my opinions on, like, Jurassic Park's lore and analog horror as a whole, so I won't say any more. Just, it is going to be continued. If you're interested in that, stick around. Oh, and I completely forgot to say the name of the series, which is the Site B archive. But moving on, a project that I'm not currently working on, but one I have already said I might, is Monsters Under the Bed. Like I said in the section where I showed off that scene test, it does need to be reworked a tad, and then finding a female voice actor will be challenging because I am deathly afraid of women. Also, I think that either that model I used for the Shadow Monster was removed from the workshop or I accidentally uninstalled it, but either way I'll have to find it again or get a replacement. Maybe the Bracken from Lethal Company. Earlier I said more on that later. Well, now is later, and if you weren't a disappointment to your family, you would have remembered that when I said that, I was talking about a Star Wars fan project that me and my friends are working on. The current working title is The C Team. You know, like the A-Team, but C for clone. And also C for being 2 steps down from A, because the characters are all incompetent. The basic premise is that a ragtag group of clones are assembled to form a special strike force for a single mission. This is because we're all special little snowflakes who each like different clone companies and wanted different colours on our clone's armour. While still having a central storyline, this show also aims to be more comedic, with elements of slapstick and physical humour, whilst also playing into and making jokes about the Star Wars lore. Not like at its expense or anything, as in jokes that you would only get if you know a lot about the Star Wars lore. I just wanted to specify in case anybody got mad at me for shitting on Star Wars. Next up I have something that I actually haven't shown off before. A project that uses a special someone who you have probably seen before. Yep, I made a whole web series based around my channel mascot, and if you hadn't guessed, he is the reason why my new channel is going to be called TV Head Productions. Anyway, this new project is called RGB and... Wait, RGB? Oh right, yeah, I'll explain that in a minute. So this series is going to be an episodic comedy web series, you know, kind of like those old Newgrounds shows like Ed's World or something. I have this project listed as RGB because originally it was going to be not just 1, but 3 TV heads. Namely, red, green, and blue, brothers named after their colours. God, I'm so fucking creative. And, of course, red, green, and blue are the 3 primary colours of light, which is what TV and computer screens use, so, you know, TV heads, RGB. Makes sense, right? Anyway, each of the 3 would encapsulate different aspects of a creative mind, red being the pain and suffering of an artist, blue the logical and economical businessman, and green the jovial and childlike imaginative. Eventually, though, the scripts became less comical and more tragic, with one of the 3 TV heads realizing that he dedicated so much of his life to his work that when he isn't working on a project, his life is completely empty, with his brothers having grown up and moved on with their lives, whilst he's still stuck in the same place he's always been, leading him to become depressed and beginning to write suicide notes because he feels that nobody needs him, and that if he was dead, nothing would change, and his brothers' lives would be better off without him in it, and... you know, funny stuff like that. Obviously, this all became way too deep for what was supposed to be a comedy web series with 10-minute long episodes full of slapstick and puns. So, whilst I'm still holding on to that idea for future use, I kind of redid the whole thing. Now it's just focusing on the one TV head who is the channel mascot, who just lives together with his roommate, who's just a normal guy. And they go on wacky and wild adventures together! So, yeah, that's it for now. I'll probably post some updates close to when these projects are done, and we'll probably make an announcement when the channel goes live. Also, I wanted to add that if things go well, and if anyone's interested, I'm considering opening up some form of storefront for commission-based work. On screen now should be some pieces of art that I have made that are both for video projects, personal interests, and previous commissions that I've had. Again, if or when the time comes, I'll make another announcement, but for now, that's all, folks. I should hopefully be going live now to talk to everyone who's still around, and to those people, thanks for watching till the end. I know this has been quite a long video, and it's not something I would usually post, but again, thank you. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned. Ciao, ciao all!